build on a little bit of your housekeeping and just say that, like, I've been, this is my second 6-part series with NatMed Coach. Like, I love NatMed Coach, NatMed Coach Virtual Health Club. It's just a great place for us to hang out. I mean, if you're interested in the health profession, or you're a health coach, naturopathic doctor, functional medical practitioner, integrative nutritionist, like this is where the cool kids hang out. So I love coming to you all and just sharing a little bit about what I know. I think it's a really great little forum to do so. Dr. Millie, who made this amazing flyer for my for this webinar today, like when I look at this picture, I'm just like struck by the intensity of the eye and the how it's connected to this tree, like. And I just think that eye health is really also about vision health. Like, as naturopathic doctors, we're always trying to connect the mind and the body. And just really always have said, you know, I'm the co-founder of NatMed Coach. I'm not really, I'm more working for NatMed Coach rather than spearheading it. But I think Dr. Millie's always been the visionary, you know, so I just think that, you know, it's amazing that she saw these Zoom type social club meetings before any of us ever imagined that this quarantine would happen. And now it's like the new normal. So, you know, if you're here, it's pretty amazing that Dr. Millie's been doing these for such time. Anyway, I am the author of, this is the book here, Aging Brilliantly, actually, that Dr. Millie mentioned. And I love what she said about it. It is a really cute book, and it is in my voice. And I would love to just, I wish I wrote down what you said, because I want Dr. Millie to endorse it, and I can put like author of, so she wrote a book too. She's written 2 books, and one of them is on detox. So in June, it's a really great opportunity that we have here to detox. Another major naturopathic principle is detoxification and elimination, which I'm not mentioning in here. But in general, like with my book, Aging Brilliantly, it's how to eat, move, rest, and socialize your way to long life. And I really think that it's a really good resource for all of you, because basically you could say how to eat, move, rest, and socialize your way to great eye health, or to, you know, healing your diabetes, or to preventing COVID-19. And detox is definitely one of those naturopathic principles that's not listed as one of them. I mean, there's so many. So as you'll see, a lot of my talks really kind of go in that order. Like, I'm going to talk a little bit about the anatomy of the eye, and then I'm going to talk about all the different eye diseases. And there's so many. And when I created this presentation, I actually cut a bunch out, but hopefully I picked the few, you know, important ones that might be pertinent to you. And then we'll kind of go into some of those naturopathic principles, like what you should be eating. You know, we'll talk about nutrition for the eye. We'll talk about exercises you can do for the eye, because there are some, and I have a little story to tell you about that. And then we'll talk about a little, we have to touch on like spiritual connection to the eye, and what that means, like, you know, keeping your vision and your eyesight clear. Okay, so let's go. And then if any of you have any questions, like, you know, just alert me. I'm happy to answer them as we go. Okay, so here's the anatomy of the eye. So just to orient you, and I think we're looking at like we're looking at a cut across the eye, like we're like, this blue part right here is the lens. So it's like we're looking at the side of someone's head, and we're dissecting their head that way. And so basically there's like, if you look at the side of someone's eye, you can really see this cornea right here that's in front of the colored part of their eye, right? And the colored part of their eye is called the iris. And, you know, I always think of the flowers, those iris flowers, which are beautiful colors, sometimes white, sometimes purple, but the iris is what gives a person's color. And then behind the iris, or then right in the middle of the iris, is the pupil, which is like kind of like the the opening of the lens. It's the black dot that you all have. And then there's the lens, which is very much like a camera lens. It brings light in and it projects an image onto the back of the eye. So here's the back of the eye. And then this whole chamber, this whole eyeball is filled with what's called vitreous fluid, which looks like gel, basically, or like egg whites that have not been cooked. Okay, and then the whites of your eyes are the conjunctiva. There's little muscles that you have that control the lens, and then there's kind of big chunkier muscles that control the eyeball. And then this is the retina here in the back of the, or like what lines the eyeball, and that's really how you make pictures. Oops. And then the back, you have the fovea and you have the macula, and that's important for central vision. And the fovea here is like where this section right here in the back is the nerve. I don't know if, can you see my cursor? Maybe you all can't see my cursor. Oh, you can. Okay, good. So the optic nerve, it's what's important for people to realize is there's really only one nerve that exits the back of the eye and innervates it, right? And then there's also one major blood vessel. So that's the thing. These are tiny, tiny, tiny capillaries, like probably the tiniest blood vessels you have in your body, maybe next to the kidney. And then there's only really one blood vessel going in and one blood vessel going out, and one optic nerve going in and one nerve going out. So you got to really think about preserving, you know, the eyes can really be delicate and susceptible to many problems. So like if you have, we'll talk about this, if you have diabetes, which affects the nerves and the blood vessels, a lot of times that's, you know, that's a disease that's associated with bad eye health because it's affecting the nerve and the blood vessels of the eye, just like diabetes affects the nerves and the blood vessels of anywhere in your body. Okay, so this is what I have. I have, I'm farsightedness. So that means I can see far, right? Or it's also known as hyperopia. Okay, and this is the first picture is really what happens with normal vision. So there's a, you know, there's a distant object. I'm sorry, you can see, right? But going farther, the image is focused behind. When the eyeball looks further, the image is focused behind the retina, so you can't really see it as clearly, right? And then what happens, or at least what I have, is I have what's called an astigmia. So the shape of my eyeball is a little bit shaped different than the person with the normal vision. And sometimes you can be born, or you as a child, you can have what's like this astigmia, this is that what it's called? I'm sorry if I'm remembering incorrectly.
It's called stigmatism.
Thank you, stigmatism. And you can actually, as you grow and your eyeball changes, that can improve your eyesight in itself. So as you get older, sometimes you actually see, it's harder to see closer, but your far vision improves. Okay, and then this is the opposite. This is when you're nearsighted and you can't see far. Am I mixing them up? Anyway, with nearsightedness,
No, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
when you're nearsighted, you see near.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. Thank you. So with nearsightedness, you see near, thank you. And it's kind of the same thing. This image is really hard to see, but it's basically like in normal vision, you can, you know, the strawberry gets focused to the correct area. But when you're nearsighted, the strawberry, the image of the strawberry gets focused somewhere before the retina. So everything becomes blurry when you're looking far. Okay. Sorry, it was like I was going backward, you know what I mean? It was getting mixed up in my head, which I don't know. I always do that actually. Okay, so presbyopia. So this is when, due to aging, the lens of your eye actually becomes harder. Okay, so you have free, you know, just like your exposure to chemicals, toxicities, aging, you know, like just like your arteries might get harder, the lens of your eye actually gets harder as you age, and then your lens becomes less flexible and unable to focus. It becomes less compliant. And this can begin in your early to mid 40s to age 65. So it's really just started happening for me last year, actually. And when we started reading supplement bottles, I started having to read supplement bottles like this, kind of just like what this lady is doing. And what's more common is eye strain or headaches. Eye strain or headaches can occur with this. Okay, and then another thing that people deal with that's sort of age-related, not necessarily considered a disease, is you get floaters, and that's when the fluid, the vitreous fluid that's in your eyeball sort of dries up a little and separates. So you have this kind of like it's like your screen got some dust in it, and it might literally look like that. It might even look like black, like it can either be little white specks, or sometimes if you're in a room that has white walls, it might look like little black specks. Some people think like they'll be kind of like floating around in your vision as you look around back and forth. Some people think that it's like a mosquito and they'll start batting it away. And you can improve floaters. You know, I've had people on particular eye vitamins and their floaters have disappeared. And we'll talk about those vitamins later. Okay, so this I just thought was worthy of mentioning. It's called retinal detachment. And what happens, as you can see in the second picture, part of the retina detaches from the back of the eye. So it's basically like folding down, and it's almost as if like a curtain has dropped, right? And so your vision just becomes like a black screen. And this is a 911 emergency. Like this can happen with injury. This can happen if your head gets hit. I mean, this happens even spontaneously. So if you have of course you're going to be frightened. So I would think that you would go to the emergency room, but they can attach it back. But there's a time limit there. You've got to attach it back quickly. You have a certain amount of time before it becomes permanent. Okay, so now we're going to go a little bit into eye diseases. So those were just kind of vision problems that people have, the floaters, the presbyopia, which happens as you get older and you might need readers, the nearsightedness, the farsightedness. Okay, but now we're going to get into some diseases. So this is cataracts. I mean, I think I put in up here the three most common ones. There was really so many, but cataracts is a big one. It happens when there becomes like a film that grows over the lens of the eye. So sort of like if you have a car, the headlights on your car, on my car at least, they're getting like this gray film over the top, or I don't even know if it's a film, because when I try to wipe them, it doesn't even really come off. It might come off a little bit, but it's like, the lens just gets, it's just been banged up. It's sort of like the screen of your smartphone. Like if you don't have a screen protector on it, I'm not talking about the cracks. I'm just talking about eventually it just has a film on it. And I think the quality of the lens, I mean, the area over your eye becomes sort of thickened. Okay, so and then what it looks like is you see halos sort of around lights. So if you're in the street and you look up at the street light, you can sort of see like a halo around it. And so here is that Ryan Reynolds saying, hey girl, are you an angel, or is that halo just a symptom of my cataracts? So it's really just overall blurry vision. Lights look a little bit more dispersed, and then there's these halos that form, and that's what's kind of indicative of you having cataracts. Cataract surgery is actually pretty common, so and successful. So people have had successful cataract surgeries now for years. Okay, so now we're going to talk about macular degeneration. So macular degeneration is a loss of central vision. So this is kind of what it looks like. So let's say you're looking at your beautiful wife or getting a kiss from her grandchild, you will start to lose your central vision. So it might look like that, though it kind of sneaks up on you, because the thing is your peripheral vision can make up for it. So if you're seeing things that are blurry, naturally you would kind of tilt your head a little bit to kind of look, make sure you see all the details of your wife getting that hug and that love, right? So it kind of sneaks up on you. It doesn't just look like central loss of vision because you're making up for what you're missing by tilting your eye or correcting for it. And there's two different kinds. There's the wet macular degeneration, which is basically where blood vessels grow behind the retina. So that's the back of the eye. And then those blood vessels sort of leak. And then that causes pressure on the back of the eye. And that's right near the fovea, which, if you remember, it is responsible for central vision. So it kind of puts pressure back there. And then the dry macular degeneration type is not, there's no leaky blood vessels, and leaky blood vessels are usually from inflammation, really. But in the dry type, because there's no inflammation there, it progresses a lot slower, but it's pretty much the same thing. There's a problem in the back of the eye where the fovea is. Or the macula. The macula is right next to the fovea. The fovea is where the optic nerve exits, and the macula is right next to it. They're both little circles in the back of the eye. So let me show you that right here. So this is the macula right here. It's a little circle, and this is the fovea right here where the optic nerve, they're right next to each other. Okay, and then that's why it's called macular degeneration, because the macula of your eye is degenerating. Okay, so the next one is called glaucoma. So glaucoma is another common one that happens usually when someone gets older, and a lot of people, when they hear, the ophthalmologist checking the pressure in their eye, what they're really doing is, it's a plumbing problem, right? It's not really, I get this from Jerry Hickey. He's a famous pharmacist who's done a lot of amazing work with supplements and bringing that information to the people. But he always talks about glaucoma being a plumbing problem. You're not able to drain the fluid buildup in your eye, and it pushes, so it's in the inside of your eyeball. The fluid that's in the eyeball builds up, and you have a pressure on the optic nerve, which is the fovea, which is next to the macula. Okay. And with there's two different types. There's open angle glaucoma and there's closed angle glaucoma. And the open angle glaucoma is the iris is here in the right position, and the drainage channels are clear, but the meshwork isn't draining completely, right? Where with closed angle glaucoma, it's the opposite. The drains are working, but the trabecular meshwork is not draining. So they're just two different ways that your eye is not draining. Okay, and then uveitis is another one that maybe it's not as common as macular degeneration or glaucoma or cataracts. Cataracts might be the most common one, but uveitis happens clinically. So if you're a health coach or you're a functional medicine practitioner, you want to know about this one, because it's basically general inflammation of the eye, and it can happen everywhere. It can happen in all three parts of the eye. The front apartment, which is like where the lens and the cornea and the pupil are, right here, and then this is the back of the apartment. So it can happen anywhere in the eye, and then it can happen in the very back where the nerve is and the retina is. So in any inflammation in any three parts of the eye, and it's often caused by multiple things. So eye injury or surgery is common. Autoimmune disorder is uveitis is definitely something that people are dealing with when they have autoimmune disorder. It's very common for those suffering for autoimmune disorder to get uveitis. It can, if you have another inflammatory disorder, such as Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, which are technically inflammatory disorders of the intestine, you can get uveitis as well. And then you can also get it from infections. So people who have any of these infections listed below often get it too. So uveitis might be a result of another disease. And that's why I think it's important to note. Okay, and so this is what I mentioned earlier about diabetics. I think it's really, really important for diabetics to control their blood pressure because, their blood sugar, because blood sugar will ruin the nerves and the blood vessels in your body. And it particularly ruins the eye first, because that nerve tissue and those capillaries are very, very, very fine and small. So the two most common diabetes eye diseases, well, actually diabetic retinopathy is more common than diabetic macular edema, but it's basically diabetic retinopathy is when the blood vessels of the back of the eye are damaged. And it might at first cause no symptoms or only mild vision problems, and then it goes to blurriness, but then it can actually cause blindness. I don't know why I didn't have that part after this. And then with diabetic macular edema, it's caused by fluid accumulation in the macula, and I think it's probably has to do with all kinds of things like inflammation, definitely the drainage part of the eye is affected. And it can also be a loss in central vision because it is affecting the macula, and it will start with blurred vision that often gets really severe more quickly. Okay, so controlling your blood sugar is really important for you just to preserve your eyes. Okay, so how to have great eyesight for your life. This is where we're going to get into the meat of what to do. Does anyone have any questions about the anatomy or the different diseases or anything like that of the eye?
Yeah,
If you do have questions, oh great. If you do have questions, I was just about to say, you can unmute yourself or you can use the chat box in the bottom. But go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Selassie, I wanted to ask about cataracts. Do they, if you catch them early enough, are they reversible naturally?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit. I keep referring back to this front slide because, what people have to understand is the cataract happens in the front of the eye, which means that you've got to get nutrients and healing remedies to the front of the eye, and it has to pass through all of this first. So it's definitely, I'm a eternal optimist, or I tend to always be optimistic. And I really think like you can heal it, especially if it hasn't gotten too far along, but it's going to be hard. It's hard to really make a difference in cataracts versus some of the other diseases that happen in the back, more in the back of the eye. But it's possible. And I think the earlier you catch it, the better.
Yeah, I'm asking because my eye doctor told me that I'm just starting one in my right eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been taking lutein and bilberry and high doses of vitamin C. And so far it hasn't gotten any worse. I'm hoping that I can reverse it. I don't know that I can, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, well, keep trying, because that's the only way that you will. If you give up or you start to believe that it won't, you won't.
Oh, I don't believe that it won't. I believe that it will.
Great. And you definitely have some healing stories that you've told me. So I don't really doubt that you can, especially if you focus on it, you really make sure you're applying the nutrition. I really do think that you would be able to heal it. But it is going to be harder to heal, but I think you could definitely stop it from getting worse, and you can definitely delay it from happening.
All right, well, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I want to hear. Okay, anyone else?
Maybe we'll have some tips for Judy in a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to start with nutrition, which is often, when I see my patients, I think that diet is really so important. But, you know, a lot of these things, especially things like cataracts, for example, where the film, you know, there's a film over the lens. So it's definitely caused by, you know, exposure to smoke, exposure to chemicals, toxins, you know, eating bad foods with lots of preservatives. And people might say, oh, I eat really great and I don't smoke. But, you know, the truth is that, you know, the earth is inundated with chemicals, and we have added, you know, billions, if not trillions, of brand new man-made chemicals in the last 20 years. And we are all breathing it in. It's going into our rivers, and it's going into our food supply, and our, you know, soil is not as good. And so so we're dealing with a lot more toxic exposure, and we're getting a lot of pro-oxidants and free radicals that are causing problems, and yet we don't have enough antioxidants. And I think that Dr. Millie, maybe it was last Saturday, she did a presentation on how to eat 10 or 12 servings of vegetables in a day. And, you know, that's really a great, you know, check it out, because it is kind of hard to consume 10 or 12 vegetables or servings of vegetables in a day. And some people will even ask me, what exactly is a serving of vegetable? And I've seen some people say to me, oh, it means a cup of X. But there's no specification, because like if you look right here at the top center is spinach. A cup of cooked spinach is a lot more spinach than a cup of fresh spinach. So, you know, just also like realizing it's hard to really determine how many vegetables you are getting, but I'm going to tell you that probably none of us are really getting enough unless you really focus on it and you, like, you know, figure out, like, I'm sure that I haven't had the pleasure of seeing that webinar, but I'm sure it's chock full of information. And I'm sure there's ways that Dr. Millie is really pushing it into the diet, you know? So
Oh yeah, because it does depend on the nutrient content of the food. Like a serving of microgreens, for instance, fresh sprouts, you only need about a teaspoon. Now you're not getting the fiber with that, but you are getting the nutrients. And you know, generally a cup of raw vegetables is a serving, and half a cup of cooked vegetables is a serving. But again, it does depend on where the foods were grown and how nutritious ultimately they are. But that was a really fun workshop, because I was able to pack cooking more than 10 servings of vegetables into about 40 minutes. So that's the other amazing thing, is that you can make all of your vegetables for the day in about 40 minutes. And if you spread that out over time, then it's like, you know, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. People were amazed at how fast veggies cook so fast. And obviously you can eat some of them raw. So definitely check it out. Thanks for the plug on that video, because that was the second one. I think I did a smoothie workshop, and then I did a veggie making workshop. And so as you're talking about antioxidants, and you know that cataracts are a result of oxidative damage to the eye. Even the sun can give oxidative damage and exacerbate cataracts. So anyway, keep going. Thank you.
yeah, that's a really good point about the sun. And, you know, I heard that while we're all quarantining at home, that one of the major holes in the ozone layer, that when we don't have an ozone layer there, you get more exposure to the damaging rays of the sun versus when our ozone layer is healed. And actually, I heard one of the holes closed just in the last 2 months. And I think it's because a lot of people have been sheltering in. So there is just so much toxicity.
No jets.
Yeah.
Flights
No
around the
jets.
world have drastically reduced.
Yeah, no jets flying around spraying who knows what. And, you know, there's just a lot of less traffic going around. So people kind of think, oh, like, I eat good, I eat salmon. Well, I hope you don't. I mean, you just go and Google salmon right now, and you'll hear about some toxic salmon that's entering into our earth. So so veggies are really important. And if you think you eat a lot of veggies, I think you might need to add more. That's my point. It's, you know, it's hard. And then I would even say that, like, before I would hear like, oh, not 10 to 12 veggies, but 5 to 7. And some people were even having a hard time getting in 5 to 7 and asking questions about, does fruit count? Yeah, I guess fruit counts, but really most of us have fruit, not all of us eat veggies. And you know, it's like I found one time, so I am the mother of 5 children. So I found this like spaghetti sauce in a jar. Sometimes I take shortcuts too. And it was like jam packed, hide your veggies from your kid. It was like the marketing. There was really hardly any vegetables in there. I mean, it listed a lot of different things like carrots and spinach, but I mean, it was pretty much red sauce. You know what I'm saying? So I might, they might say that it include 3 servings of veggies. It just doesn't. What I mean? Like you've really got to put them in yourself. Don't count on any kind of processed food, like foods that you get out of a box, foods, even health foods. So like a lot of time, and I'm subject to it too. I love Trader Joe's and getting the samples, and usually I'm a sucker for it. Like I have a sample and it's like something I'm buying in a box, but I'm guaranteeing it's not as nutritious as when I stick the veggies as an aside. And sometimes smoothies are really great ways to get like things like spinach in. The spinach tastes like nothing once you stick it in a smoothie. So eat your veggies, eat your berries. So berries are particularly good for eye health because they neutralize that oxidative damage and that oxidative stress. And berries in particular seem to strengthen some of the blood vessels, and they do some of the very, very important antioxidants that are contained in berries, like oligoproanthocyanidins and, very, very, all those high acting, high flavanol content phytonutrients that really neutralize free radicals are located in berries, and they can also help the walls of the arteries that reach the eye. And I like to tell everybody that the eye is really an extension of your brain. So when I pointed out that there's one nerve going in and out of the eyeball, and there's one blood vessel going in and one vein going out, they're going out into the brain. So if your brain doesn't have good circulation and you're not taking in lots of nutrients that actually cross, it's hard sometimes for the brain to get some nutrients because it has to be nutrients that cross what's called the blood-brain barrier. Our body protects our brain, but unfortunately it keeps it so that some nutrition doesn't get in, but the nutrition from berries do. So dark berries, very important. You can stick them in that smoothie. You can have them for breakfast. You can put them into your porridge. You can have them as a snack, but you definitely want to eat berries. And another thing I like to point out is the antioxidants are usually in the colors. So lutein is in the greens. You've got lycopene, which is red. There's astaxanthin, which is the pink, like I mentioned salmon earlier. So usually you want to make sure that you're eating colors. That's really, really important. Okay, so this is a really famous study called the ARED study, the age-related eye disease study. And in this study, what they found is whether you are fighting, whether you're nearsighted, whether you're farsighted, whether you have acquired the nearsightedness from turning 40, or hopefully you've delayed it a little bit, turning 45 or 50 or 55 or 60, where you have to read, you have to alter your hands to read fine print, or else you have to wear reading glasses. Whether or not you're dealing with a cataract like Miss Judy, or whether you have glaucoma, or whether you have macular degeneration, or basically any kind of eye disease and any kind of age-related eye disease or eye impairment or vision impairment, there are certain nutrients that will support the eye. And it kind of makes it very, very simple. Because we know that these are the nutrients right here that really seem to make a difference for all of the eye diseases. And sure, like with cataracts, you might really need to bump up the antioxidant. Actually, all of these are antioxidants, but also, there's EPA and DHA from omega-3s is really important for keeping everything about the eye flexible. So the vitreous fluid, it's a gel. You want it to stay a runny gel, like the consistency of a raw egg white versus a cooked egg white. And you want the lens to be flexible. So getting your omega-3s into your diet and having it incorporate into all the cellular walls will make you have a softer, bendable, more compliant eyeball, essentially. So that will affect even me with the stigmatism, right? My eye can kind of flex and correct vision. I've heard of people that can actually correct their own vision, and it's because they have a flexible eye. The brain really responds well to omega-3s, and remember, the eye is an extension of the brain. The lutein and the zeaxanthin, so those are those antioxidants that we just mentioned. The lutein is in those greens. And zinc, very, very important for eye health. The top three, C, E, and beta carotene, those are really, really good antioxidants, right? And I mentioned OPC3 earlier, which is oligoproanthocyanidins that you get in dark berries. Those are actually, I think, 50 times stronger than the grape seeds, and the grape skin in there is actually 50 times of a stronger antioxidant than vitamin C, and 30 times stronger than vitamin E. So, but these are the foundational nutrients that they found in this study. So when you go out into the world and you find eye nutrients, a lot of them are based on this study. However, just like I'll see most medical doctors recommend Centrum as and I don't really like to mention brand names on webinars, but I'm just going to do it because Centrum, basically you swallow it and you poop it right back out whole. And it's because they put a lot of binders and fillers in there that keep it so they can squish basically nutrients into this compact, little nugget that you swallow, but then it's a binder. So it binds it to itself and it's hard to break. But you can find really good quality nutrients that are either in a capsule or they're made isotonically. And I think the picture is right here. Like these, the top one is isotonic, so it's in a powder, and you basically mix it with a certain amount of water, and it creates an isotonic solution. And a lot of the nutrients now are suspended in this liquid, then bypasses the digestive tract and goes right into your bloodstream. So definitely a much, much better quality than the typical eye nutrient. And I think, I can't remember the name of the one that most of the medical doctors, maybe some of you might know, that most of the medical doctors recommend, but it's similar to Centrum in that it has a lot of binders and fillers. It even has dye in it. I've looked at the bottle several times. Some of my patients have brought it to me, where these two here don't have any of those binders and fillers. So basically this list on the left right here is what's included in this one. So maybe a powder or a liquid won't work for you. The bottom one is a pill that you can take. So these are what's located in the pill, and then I compared them. So this is where I cut and paste from the table from the ARED study and the ingredients in the Prime Vision. They're a little different, but they're comparable. So the Prime Vision has a little copper in it. It has some bilberry, which I think is what might be missing from the ARED study, like just the more of the berries. And it also has zeaxanthin. There's been some studies on zeaxanthin. This one doesn't have the omega-3s, and that's why you'd want to add it. Okay, so the omega-3 fatty acids are very important eye nutrients. This is the omega-3 that I recommend. Usually there's links through NatMed Coach if you go to the NatMed Coach website for any of these nutrients. Is that right, Dr. Millie? Do you have like omega-3 up there and maybe some of those, or one?
We have a recommended product page, and so that's not all the products are there, but if you're looking for more products, then there's links through to find them.
Okay, great. So if you have any of those vision issues, then this is what you want. You want to get eye nutrient, and you want to get some omega-3 fatty acids, which omega-3 fatty acids, I mean, I think that's the foundation. I have my whole family on it. My children are, they're smart children. And sometimes, like my 16-year-old, she's very good in school. She goes to like the number 19 high school in all of New York City. That's out of, I think, 2023 high schools. And she's doing really well. And I mean, I was not like that at age 16. I don't think I had the mental capacity, but I really feel like a lot of times, I mean, sure, maybe she got it from her dad. I mean, I think I'm pretty smart, but I really sometimes think it's because I took omega-3s when I was pregnant with her, and I've kept her on them all through her childhood. I really think omega-3s are really, really important for everything: inflammation, protecting yourself, very good to keep everything soft and flexible, your blood vessels, and it's definitely important for eye health. Okay, so I don't know if you might have read the blog from that I put up on NatMed Coach, or that I put to my email list. And this is really what inspired me to want to do this this webinar, is really because I have a healing eye story, and it happened to me. So you see I wear glasses, but I'm telling you, my eyes have actually improved since back when this picture was taken. I think this picture was taken almost 27 years ago. So here I am with my two friends that I still am in touch with through Facebook, but they have gray hair now. And I don't have any glasses on, and I'll tell you why. I've worn glasses since I was 14. And this is us in Jamaica. So this was before I know a lot of you know my husband is Jamaican, but this is before I met my husband, in case you're wondering why I have my hand around my guy friends. But anyway, this is the day after this, we went to the ocean, the sea, and I wore contact lenses back then. And I don't know if I finished that statement, but these eyeglasses are actually a better, lower prescription than what I wore when I was a teenager. But anyway, I used to also wear contacts. I wore both. I wore glasses some days, contacts back then. Now I don't bother with contacts. I don't know, sticking something in my eye. I just don't want to do it. And actually, I really have fun with my glasses. And I think I actually think I look better with glasses than without. But in any case, this was taken 2 days before I got into this motorcycle accident, 1 day before I went in the ocean. So I went in the ocean the day after this day, maybe 27 years ago, and the contact lens swam out of my eye. So that was it for me in contact lenses. So I basically threw the other one out, and that was before disposable contact lenses. That was like when you paid, you know, my mom probably bought them for me, and then I wasn't going to ask her afterwards. You know, at this point I was out of the house. I was like 19 maybe, or maybe almost 20. So I was out of the house, and I wasn't going to buy them for myself or ask my mother to pay for them, because I was like financially independent at this point, or tried to be as much as I could. And then the next day after, I got into a motorcycle accident in Jamaica. So I was riding on the back of a motorcycle. One of my friends was driving, and we were in the country, really beautiful. And you know, it wasn't like one of these Harley Davidson hogs. It was like, you know, the tourist motorcycle bike that's kind of light. And then there was this cow that was basically crossing the road. And you know, it was close enough where you could do two things. The driver could have done two things. They could have stopped, but we probably would have crashed into the cow, or we could kind of kind of try to go past it. But what ended up happening, so we tried to just go past it. And I remember that the cow's eye was so close to my eye, and I still have that image when I talk to you. And I don't know, maybe that's why it turned into this big eye story. But basically we successfully passed the cow, but we were so close to the edge of the road that it got caught in the kind of the side gully, and we went out into the field, and then the motorcycle crashed. The motorcycle was not drivable afterwards. And I have a big nasty scar on my ankle. If you know me closely and you've seen it, that's where I got it from. And my glasses got smashed. I was beat up a little bit, you know, and the driver, he only had a scratch on his forehead. But I survived, thank God. And maybe it's just even to be able to tell you this story. But anyway, so that was like the motorcycle accident happened on a couple days before we left Jamaica. And I remember it was intense. I think the scar is so big because we basically went to a hospital that didn't have a roof. Like, we're in the middle of the country. I remember the name of my doctor. Her name was Dr. Noble, and she stitched me up. And they had some terrible, terrible, um, what do you call it? Numbing agency that after a while I was just like, don't numb it, just stitch it. So I think she was afraid to really put too many stitches in me, and she only did 12. I think if I was here and I got like 20 or 30 stitches, I'd really have no scar. But anyway, I digress. So I get back to New York. I don't have contact lenses and I don't have glasses, and I can't walk around because my ankle is like busted. And if I moved my ankle, like basically I was afraid that the stitches would split. So I basically lied in bed and I said, you know what I'm going to do? Guess what? I'm going to detox. And that's what I did. Just like, you know, how Dr. Miller said, July is detox month and it's going to be master cleanse. And I had a couple of roommates then.
June.
June will be master at the end after she does the mono diet and the brown rice diet. She's going to do a master cleanse. Well, I think maybe that's kind of what I did, because essentially I didn't have any food. And my roommates were gone for the summer too. And then they had come back and then they were like, oh no, you don't have any food. You can't go shopping. And I was like, just buy me a bunch of fruit and vegetables to juice. And that's what I did. I fasted on water and lemon first. And then once my roommates came, I made juices, and I would basically hobble to the kitchen and hobble right back to my bedroom. And so I was basically at home, and I really very much had the intention of healing. And before I went to Jamaica, somebody gave me this book called The Bates Eye Method. And so there I was. You know, you don't have a cell phone then. I don't think we even had beepers. Like, I didn't own a TV, I think, or maybe my roommate owned a TV, but it was in his room or in the living room or something. So I just could read. So I basically looked at this Bates Eye Method thing and just did the exercises, read the book, lied down and healed, detox, just focused on healing. I had nothing to do. It was it was summer vacation. I was at school at the time. I was on a break. I just lied there and healed. And then 2 weeks later, my girlfriend came and she was like, I'm going to get you out of the house. And I was like, to go where? Like, I'm fine. She goes, well, you need glasses. So I was like, okay, let's go to the optician and get me some glasses. So she gave me crutches. I remember they were her crutches because I hadn't even gone to like a hospital. I just came back and was like going to heal. So we hobbled around. I remember I was living on 18th and First Avenue in Manhattan, and we hobbled to like where, is that Beth Israel? They had like an optician store close to there on 14th Street. So we went to 14th Street and walked in, and I was like, I need glasses. My contact lenses floated out into the ocean, and then I got in a motorcycle accident and my eyeglasses broke. And he was like, whoa, you know, it's a miracle you're alive. And started to feel good that I was outside. And my friend Angela was going to help me find glasses that she really liked. And basically, long story short, when the man checked my prescription and compared it to the old one, it was completely different. I had improvement in both eyes, and he was like, it's a miracle. And I really accepted that as the truth. And, you know, a lot of people will say that this Bates method is just full of, you know the word method, that there's no evidence that it works, that it's just a crock of, you know what. But I really think that it really helped me. I really think it really helped me, unless it's just that I didn't wear glasses and I was trying to correct my vision, or the stigmatism that I had improved in that short little time of growth at the time when I was 20. Like, I have no idea. But I really feel like it's the Bates method. And so the Bates method, it's an old book. I can't remember from what year, but it was at least, well, actually, I'm not going to make it up, but it's an older book, and I wish I still had it. I can't find it. I think I've bought 2 Bates method books, and I think I've given both of them away because I really do think that it has helped. And these are basically all the different methods that Bates talks about doing. The first one is the relaxation palming method, which I'll talk about earlier, but it's based on the premises that he thinks that all eye problems are due to stress and strain. The other part is the rest of it is really exercises that you can do. So one is shifting. So like looking at an image and shifting your eyes from each of those blue dots. One is also shifting your eyes from the big picture to a little tiny picture. And another one is blinking and looking. Breathing, I don't remember talking about that in the Bates method, but I'm gonna just, this is by somebody right here, Clark Knight, and breathing can always help. I mean, breathing is life. Movement and looking, and then there's also imagining, there's making the connection between your brain and what you're seeing. There's also switching, so switching from something close to something far. Here he said sunlight can help the eyes. A sun causes oxidative stress, and wearing sunglasses, I think, is really, really important. And I don't know if this was written during the time before the sun really became a problem to us, back when we had an ozone layer that protected us. It's the same thing, like with vitamin D, for example, we synthesize vitamin D from the sun. And so you want to get a little, because the sun can be really healing, but it can also be detrimental. So just sunlight, maybe not. And then also reading fine
both, right? Definitely you need to expose your eyes to the sun, otherwise you can't dilate properly. So you need to exercise your eyes with sunlight. You shouldn't wear sunglasses all the time because it weakens the eyes and it damages your adrenal glands. But then you can't overexpose your eyes to the sun because it creates oxidative damage. So you have to find your balance just with everything.
Yeah.
The sun is a wonderful healing light source for the earth and warming source for the earth. We need to be exposed to it, but we can't like overexpose ourselves to it because then it's harmful. So
yes, exactly right.
Plug for the sun.
Yeah. So, Bates said, go in the sun. And I say, Dr. Millie says, go in the sun, but go carefully. So this is basically the Bates method in shortened, or in this infographic. This is what I did. So, I was in a bed, I wasn't looking out into the scenery of a mountain where I could see a far mountaintop and then a close bird chirping. I was in a tiny little New York, Manhattan apartment on 18th and First, in a tiny little bedroom that was smaller than my office here. Like, it was pretty much only fit my bed and like a nightstand. This is really what I did. So I read the book, but this is what I did. I did this all day. I would look up, I would look up left, I would look up right, I would look laterally, I would look centrally, I would look lower left and lower left, lower right, and down. And I did it over and over and over again, like it was a meditation or a discipline. And the other thing I did is I did it with my hands. I would really lie on my back and I would do this. I used my fingers to help me to shift my eyes. And this is what I did. And I did it every day for 14 days. And I didn't have my eye. I think that's the key too. I didn't have contact lenses or eyeglasses to wear. So sometimes I wonder, if I just throw the glasses away, could I really heal my eyes? I like to think so. I'm not going to do it though. I like I said, I like my glasses. I don't know if I have the time. I'm not like laid up in bed with nothing to do. But I really do think that this is the particular Bates exercise that I did that I really helped, because I was doing it morning, noon, and night, and I was doing it diligently, and I was really believing in it. And I think belief is the key. Okay, these are some little vision helpers. I forget what the name of these are. Maybe they're just called pinhole glasses. Somebody got them for my daughter Miriam, who has she has glasses now and she's 12. My other children don't have to wear glasses. It's only Miriam. And so I don't know if she just got my genes, or maybe I slacked on the fish oils when I was pregnant with her. I don't know. I've thought that. But anyway, these, you're supposed to wear them, and they're supposed to help with basically the Bates method of looking far and focusing centrally and shifting. So Miriam wore them basically until she broke them, and she would wear them on walks whenever we go to Prospect Park. They're not sunglasses. They're actually they're actually, I think, plastic, actually, that part across the center with little white holes in them. So she wore them all the time. She wore them. They're better when you're out versus at home, so you can really look far. So every time we would go to Prospect Park, she would use them. Any questions about the Bates method or anything? Okay. So this is the Bates method of palming. This is also, I also did this, and this I think is really helpful for us while we are sheltering at home, and a lot of our a lot of us are spending time in front of the computer and in our smartphones, whether it's because of school, or it's because of work, or it's because of you're bored and you're just looking at screens all day, like all day, every day. I mean, my children really, like, when they were in school, I mean, they would look at the teacher, but now all day, every day, they're looking at laptops and iPads. And me too. I mean, I'm seeing all my patients now virtually, which was not the case before. I was seeing everybody. So I was looking at faces. Now I look at screens all day. So I really think that this Bates method of palming can be really helpful, but it's basically like take your glasses off and you put the palms of your palms of your hand, the palms of your hands over your eyes, and just really kind of focus and meditate on relaxing them. And, you know, I think that this is really significant because if you know anything about healing, hands-on healing, whether it's Reiki or energy healing or Brennan's school, the healing light energy work, which I've done some schooling, some classes with, this is your center of the middle of your palm is where you can generate healing energy. So I really think that this is significant. And, you know, versus closing your eyes for a minute and putting an eye pillow on your hand, on your over your eyes. I think that can be helpful too, but I think there's really something to be said about palming, and maybe that's why it works. But you know, you just try it. I think that it's a really good idea to take a break from the screens as much as you can. I do think all of our eyes are being strained right now in quarantine. Okay, but that's basically what you do. You put and there's tons of YouTube videos on how to do it, but it's basically like you put your palms over each one of your eyes. You relax. You can do it for 5 minutes. You could do it for 1 minute. You could do it for 10 minutes. I mean, it doesn't really have to be long. And you also need to think about relaxing your eyes. I think that that's really important. Sort of like when you're weightlifting, if you're doing bicep curls and you just do them, but you're thinking about, what you're going to cook for dinner versus thinking about your bicep. If you're thinking about your bicep, you will make a bigger bicep more than if you're thinking about something else. I think it's the same thing with your eyes. If you really think about relaxing your eye muscles and relaxing your eyeballs, you will you will do it better than if you're thinking about, work or what you're going to make for dinner, or the next episode of whatever Netflix show you're binge watching. So you really want to take the time and focus on healing your eyes.
Dr. Selassie?
Yes, ma'am.
So the palming, it's over open eyes?
Closed
when you
eyes.
palm, oh, closed eyes. Okay.
Yeah, closed eyes. Yeah. So just
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So also with just thinking about your eyes, but also think about, giving your eyes good energy. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is healing the eyes. It's really a thing. Like, you have to really think about healing. And that's what I tell, it's like a lot of my patients, they might be doing all the things. They're eating, they're pooping, they're focusing on sleeping, but what really sometimes gets them to the next level is to really be like, I'm healing. I'm doing these things to heal myself. Because a lot of people, sometimes they're doing the things. Oh, Dr. Selassie, I was swallowing the supplements, but my stomach still hurts. And I'm going to bed early, but I'm suffering. Well, if you keep thinking about suffering, that's what you're going to get, more suffering. So you got to think about healing. If you want to heal your eyes, you got to kind of focus on it a little bit. And I have another story. I actually went to this woman who, and take it for what it is. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Selassie, you're a cuckoo, and I've changed my opinion about you. But I want you to listen to the message that the lady told me. So I met a lady who claimed to be a Native American medicine woman from like the 1600s, right? And she said that she said to me that I needed to focus a little bit more on healing my eyes. And she said something to me like, you know, those unseen spirits that are floating around, you have to ask them to help you. So she's saying she's Native American, me of a Judaic Christian faith. I'm just basically thinking she's talking about angels, and what she's telling me is to ask my angels to work on healing my eyes on my behalf. So that's also what I did, and I think that's also what I did when I was laid up in the bed, is I was really, really thinking about healing. And you know, so that's my thoughts on thinking about healing. And the other thing is praying. You know, like there is scientific evidence-based studies out there that show that prayers work, you know. So praying and asking for your eyes to be better, I think, is really important. And the other thing that I like to say about eyes, especially if you're having eye issues, is you might want to take a look and see, is there something that you're not willing to see? You know, you want to look at any kind of ailment that you have. You want to look at it sort of for what, you know, is there another interpretation? Like, you know, if it's a thyroid problem, is there something that you're not saying or communicating? You know, if it's an anger issue, you know, anger is usually related to liver or colon. If it's your lungs, I usually ask people, you know, is there grief? Is there unexplained grief that they haven't really handled or acknowledged? You know, and I think that with vision and eyes, it's really asking yourself, is there something that I'm not willing to see? You know, get the blinders off. And sometimes that's all you need. And the other thing is distinguishing the difference between your vision and your eyesight. So not just seeing what's wrong here. Maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe you're seeing everything, you're seeing the truth, but you're not cultivating your vision, you know? So vision, I think, is what I was referring to that Dr. Millie had. You know, like back in the day when her and I were working very closely on NatMed Coach, I was really kind of like a things to do girl. And that is very much me. I mean, I have things to do. That's how I operate. I'm very much things to do list. But Dr. Millie, I think, and we all have our strengths. I think Dr. Millie is a really good vision, you know? So she saw this kind of, I mean, she predicted it. You know, all of us are coming into quarantine like, oh, it's the new normal, having Zoom meetings and socializing on Zoom. Well, Dr. Millie's been doing it now for a few years. She always had that vision in her eye. She was using Zoom before anybody ever heard of it, right? So what is your vision? You know, so maybe it's that you're seeing everything, you're seeing the truth. Maybe you're a truth seeker, but you're not taking that extra step to see what it is that you can do and create for yourself. And I think that's also very, very related to the health of your eyes. And so here, Helen Keller said, the most pathetic person in the world, and you all know Helen Keller, she was blind and she did a lot of work for blind people and helping them to get rights in this world. But she said, the most pathetic person in the world is the person who has their sight but no vision. So she was another visionary. She saw blind people being able to go to school, where before, if you were blind, you were basically considered disabled and probably had to stay at home and be cared for. But she really was out in the world doing things. So, you know, what is it? If you have, you know, what is your vision? And I think that far surpasses your eye health. And I think they could also be very much related, because if you see yourself seeing for all the days of your life, then I think you really can see clearly for all the days of your life. But if all you're doing is assuming, oh, once I'm 40, I'm going to have to get reading glasses, then that's exactly what's going to happen. So this is my little spiel on having great eye health for life. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I think that I might have saw a question, I'm not sure, but anybody want to ask a question or contribute to the discussion or anything, I would love to hear it.
Okay, a couple of things. Since a lot of us are on computers all day long, I've seen drops, like natural drops, homeopathic drops for computer eyes. I've seen glasses for people to wear to protect their eyes from computer screens. How do you feel about that?
I feel like those are good. I mean, the glasses I think are probably blue light filters, which I do think help. And I think that, you know, this is I got this new phone in September, and it has a blue light filter on it that goes on at 7 p.m. every night. It just kind of changed. It takes the blue light out. I think those are really good. I think that we've already established and known that the blue
But just
light.
lots of your sound changed. We can't hear you anymore.
Oh, it's because I moved the phone. Sorry. Yeah. So.
No, we can't hear you. It's very muffled and low.
Still can't hear me now.
It doesn't sound
Just
good.
about barely.
I wonder what I did. It's when I moved the phone.
It shows that you have your mic muted.
Oh, it does?
No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
no. That's on. You're muted on your computer. You're on the phone.
Oh, okay.
It's on twice.
Okay.
Maybe you're on speaker or something. I don't know. You sound like a tin can now.
I don't know what I pushed, but I must have pushed something when I picked up my phone just now, and I don't know what. The other thing I could do is I could put the volume on my screen and turn this volume off and see how
Okay.
that goes. So I'm gonna try that. I don't want to give you off. Okay, is that it?
Does I think you maybe have to leave with your phone because it's not serving a purpose now, right?
No, we just got a bunch of echo.
We can hear
Yeah.
you, but it's just
We just got a bunch of echo.
We can hear you.
Okay,
That's
how
better.
is that? Is that
Better.
better?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, then I had a couple of other questions.
Oh, I have no idea if you can hear me. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, I have been having some technical difficulties with my audio, but I think my internet company is going to help me, unless I just have to ditch my whole computer, get a new one. But anyway, I completely forgot. Oh, the blue light filters. Yeah, I think those glasses are really helpful. I do think that they might, if that's what they are, if they are blue light filter glasses, I think that they can help. The homeopathic eye drops are so when
They
you go
help
to
with
naturopathic
cortisol.
school,
They help with
you're kind of
cortisol
trained.
reduction. Right.
And they help with creating melatonin, right? Like they help it
Yeah.
so that you can still create melatonin. So they might not necessarily help with vision, but I don't think the blue light is good for you, you know?
No, it's not, because it even throws your circadian rhythms off. As you know, I tell people at night, put those blue light filters on, because if you're going to be on your phone and computer into the night, that can really mess your rhythms up,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
If you have
Yeah,
time,
prevent
I have
people
homeopathic
from
eye
falling
drops.
asleep.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep cutting you off.
I had another question, because I mean, Dr. Selassie is one of my doctors, so she knows this, but I've been diagnosed with borderline narrow angle glaucoma, and I take drops for that because I wasn't going to fool around with that. But I've read that forskolin might help with pressure. Is that true?
I missed what you said right before you said with pressure. Is that true?
The supplement forskolin, I had read that could possibly help lower your eye pressure. Is that true? You know?
Forskolin, is that what you said? I didn't hear you.
Yes, forskolin.
Yeah, see, my audio is a little messed up on this computer, but
I
yeah,
know.
I've heard that it can help. There's a lot
are
of
some
CB,
studies.
you know, research on CB. Yeah, and CB,
Well, I tried that. I
CBD,
tried
but
that,
not really
and it
even
didn't
CBD
work.
so much as CBN. Yeah, but I think the reason why it didn't work for you is that you took the isolated, because I had originally been selling the isolated CBD and then the whole plant extract that had all the terpenes and the CBD. And I really have, now I don't even bother to sell the isolated CBD because I don't feel that it works even for pain. I usually sell CBD as a whole plant extract. So I really invite you to try it again, Judy, but do the whole plant extract versus the isolated. The whole plant extract, you know, the isolated has no THC in it. The whole plant extract by nature, even though the CBD is in there, it might have a little THC, but less than 0.3%. That's nothing. 0.3% less than, I mean, that's like 0 THC. And I think that maybe that's why you weren't considering it, because which is, people don't want to have exposure to THC, but it's just virtually nothing.
Okay.
So I would really invite you to try it again, because I have had some people get relief for macular degeneration and glaucoma, and then now they're doing some studies on what's called CBN, N as in Nancy, which is another constituent of the cannabis plant, and CBN seems to even be more promising for glaucoma. Now, I don't have a CBN product, but I think people are going to be, I think you'll see it out in the market soon, because the studies seem to be pretty strong. So consider that, yeah. And what we were saying about homeopathy earlier and homeopathic drops is, homeopathic drops, like, they can't hurt, you know. I'm not really, I think they could potentially help you.
Because I had said to you a while back, I took homeopathic drops when I had pink eye and they worked.
Yeah.
Homeopathy is all about matching the actual remedy with the specific symptoms. So when they comprise formulations, you know, they're just taking a whole bunch of remedies that match that specific symptom, whether it's red eye or itchy eye or dry eye, put them all together, and just like, it's a bit like shooting in the dark, you know, hoping that one of those remedies in the formula will work. But oftentimes it does. Like,
Well,
homeopathy is one of the
it
most
worked for me.
mysterious
Got rid of it in 3 days. So
and gentle and most benign forms of medicine. So it's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you're taking a lot of drops, but there's also acetyl L-carnitine drops, especially for cataracts, but also for glaucoma. And forskolin does come in combination with acetyl L-carnitine as well. And so those are, you know, there's research on glaucoma and forskolin. So I would definitely look into that. And acetyl L-carnitine is one of the best antioxidants, amino acid antioxidants for eye difficulties. So
yeah, I mean, I take drops for the glaucoma.
Yeah, and
because
it's one of the ones that crosses the blood-brain barrier.
mm-hmm.
You know, I take drops for the glaucoma because I said I had to get that down right away.
I heard you,
that's
but
why
then there's
I
also
something
drops.
natural. So I don't need
These
4
are a lot
sets of
of
drops,
doctors-
which I may in the future, and I don't want that.
It's true, but your glaucoma drops are not helping your cataracts. So there are drops for cataracts that are made of acetyl L-carnitine.
Okay.
So,
Well, I mean, I take acetyl L-carnitine as a supplement, so but would a drop would be better?
yeah, I've seen them reverse cataracts. Can see.
Is that over the counter?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
It's
find
a
them.
supplement.
I'll find them. Okay, that's all my questions for right now.
Any other questions? Somebody else popped on. Hi. And so
Hi.
iPhone HD. So, okay, well, we ended a little bit short, but thank you all for attending this very interesting presentation on eye health. I think that Bates method is really interesting too, because and it really follows the trend of exercise. I mean, we're seeing, you know, face yoga now, and where people are exercising their faces and building up muscles in their jaw. And I think that there's a tool now to build up muscle for your jaw to prevent sagging of the jowls. And so we're seeing all these ways to exercise the face, which do come out of traditional medicine. And, you know, Dr. Bates, I believe he died in like 1930. So this method has been around for over 100 years, 120 years. And it's about deliberately exercising and relaxing the eyes, as Dr. Selassie was saying. And when we get our eyes into shape, they can adjust. Whereas when they're fixed on a screen, or they're fixed at looking at one specific distance for a length of time, then they get lazy, they get out of shape. And so they can no longer respond to that eye stimulus. And by engaging in the Bates method, we're stimulating and increasing the fitness of our eye and the ability for our pupil to dilate and contract as we need to, just like you were giving with the building up of your tricep example, Dr. Selassie. So I think that's the foundation of the Bates method, and it's that strengthening and relaxation component, just like we can do for any other, you know, muscle group. of the body. So we don't generally think of our eyes as being, gymnasts, but they are one of our biggest gymnasts and connected to our biggest gymnast, which is the brain, of course. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Exercise is really a healer, and yeah, I've seen those advertisements for the gels too. It's really true. There's so many different, like, we can interpret exercise in so many ways. It doesn't mean you have to get on a treadmill for 45 minutes straight. Like, there's just so many things you can do to induce movement, even micro movements, with, just like Dr. Millie said about the microgreens had so much nutrients in one little teaspoon. It's kind of the same thing. I really do think that exercising your eyes can go way beyond just helping your eyes. It's another form of movement that can, do things like even stimulate your brain, stimulate your immune system.
Okay, great. So somebody's saying, thanks, can't be seen yet, but thanks for the seminar. So thanks for attending. The replay will be sent out. And thanks so much for joining. So next, coming up on Virtual Health Club, we've got, I'm interviewing Tracy Harrison, the founder of the School of Applied Functional Medicine, and that's going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about the interconnectedness of functional medicine. So that's going to be great. We're going to be going live at 9 a.m. another early session. So if anybody's tuning in from the West, sorry about that. You'll have to watch it on replay if you're not up at 6. Somebody said to me early this week, Sunrise Health Club. So that's the case if you're on the West Coast. But my interview with Tracy will go about an hour, and it will be live on Zoom with Virtual Health Club. And then we'll also broadcast it on Facebook. And so you can catch it in either place, either in our replay or on Facebook. And then on the 25th of May, Celine Ng, pharmacist and functional medicine student, she's also just about to finish her MPH at NYU, will be talking about whether or not food can be stressful. So she's going to be talking about different sources of stress. Primarily, we don't generally think of food as a source of stress. And I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation, especially coming into detox month, where we're going to be exploring on a personal, you're going to be gathering lots of personal insight as to how stressful and or relaxing food is, and how non-stressful food can become when you know what you're going to eat on a day-to-day basis, and when you simplify food, and when you relax around it by making it yourself. And hopefully we all have time to be engaging in detox now. So I June is a little bit late in the season for doing a detox, but I think that it's the time, given that we're all still mostly at home, and there's a plethora of spring shoots and greens, and also amazing for your eyes. In Chinese medicine, they say that the liver exit the eyes. So the eyes are not only a mirror to the soul, but also an expression of how healthy your liver is. And any time that there's redness and itchiness, especially in that, then that's a liver problem, because the liver is what filters toxins and where blood stagnates, et cetera. So we will also be helping your eyes with the detox. And so I hope you'll join us along for that. So I will be sending out the replay for Great Eye Health for Life. And as well as feel free to tune in to any of the other replays for the month of May that are on the link. And please do join us for my interview with Tracy Harrison on Wednesday, and Celine Ng's presentation on the 25th. And if you'd like to be a member of Health Club, then there's always a link so that you can join that. And if you want to engage with us in the June detox month, then I've made some tips, recommendations to get rid of all your dairy, your coffee, your alcohol, all your processed food, and start stocking up on brown rice, dark maple syrup. It's a little too early to stock up on your perishables yet, but you definitely want to stock up on your dry goods. Get the detox box if you're going to do that aspect of it, the NutriClean Detox. I'll put a link so you can purchase that, and away we'll go. We'll start using the smoothie workshop that I did already, and the how to consume 10 veggies in a day workshop, and we'll just build on that knowledge. I believe I'll do a kale chip workshop so that we're not junk free, without junk on our junk kale chips, but so we're not free without treats on our detox. And I think that's everything for us. So thanks so much. Dr. Selassie, you'll be back next month.
Dr. Millie, one question on the detox. The quinoa, that doesn't have soy, right?
Quinoa does not have soy. Quinoa is a pseudo grain.
Okay.
So it looks like little pearls of barley, if you will, or chia. There's a few seeds and pseudo grains that we'll have the option of consuming as a staple of the detox for the first bulk of days, 5 to 7 days. Generally, I like to center my detox around brown rice, but if you want to do chia, if you want to do amaranth, if you want to do quinoa or a combination, any gluten-free grain or pseudo grain is an option, not corn. Some people do consume oats, gluten-free oats. So there is a little bit of option depending on, how your blood sugar metabolism is. And very simple condiments, if any, maybe some fermented foods, cayenne pepper, have that on hand, lemons, olive oil, coconut oil. And we'll look forward to educating you about grains. We'll definitely do that, what grains are allowed, a workshop on that early June. And thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one. Dr. Selassie will be back next month. Does brown rice have
Thanks, Dr.
arsenic?
Selassie.
Somebody's asking if brown rice has arsenic. Anything that grows in soil where there is arsenic will have arsenic. So it depends on where the rice was grown. Unfortunately, food supply, all food is contaminated with something because that's where our environment is at the present time. So we want to consume as much organic as possible. I believe there was a contamination of brown rice at one point with arsenic, and so you want to source out your brown rice. And so we'll be talking about that on the workshop. But what we eat comes from the soil. So how we treat our environment is basically what we get in our food. So there's no mystery to that. We just have to think scientifically about, why that is. The other thing is that they treat chickens with arsenic. I mean, that's the antibiotic that they give chickens. So chickens also have arsenic, and they also have, the eggs also have arsenic. And then when chicken poop is used to fertilize rice crops, then the rice is also more likely to have arsenic in it. So, there's a cycle of life that we have to keep in mind. And so we love talking about this on Health Club. So please do tune in again. And we'll be seeing you next time. Dr. Selassie, do you recall what you're speaking about next month?
Yeah, it's a supplement. It's anti-aging supplement.
Anti-aging supplements. Okay, so we'll look forward to that, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks,
All right,
Dr.
thank you.
Selassie. Thanks, Dr.
Thank you,
Millie.
Dr.
Thank you so
Selassie.
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Thanks for
Have a
attending.
great week.
You too.